Sorry about that, John. I just didn't think this would take that long. So I think I was halfway through explain the game server part of it. So I also, good thing that stopped, because then I realized that I didn't actually go through the code that I did. So I'll just put a note in here. You give after this. Okay. So as here, so the execution thread is called when the game server is declared, and I made a mistake there that this starts when the server thread is necessary. What I said was it will first check if the game server needs to be created. That doesn't actually happen, because the game server, it's presumed that, like, if you call the game server, then you want the game server to be created, so there is no check there. That's just a little fix. So the first thing that will happen is that where am I going? Game server execution thread initialization loop termination. Yeah. So the initialization will happen. Yep, there I am. So the initialization here, so it will set up a listener, and I'll just show you this. I think this is up here. Yeah, this is, yep. So what the listener does is it sets up our TCP listener, and what that will do is it will consistently check if there's any other computers that are trying to connect with us. So it will say if the listening is enabled and the listening is not already started, then it will set up the listener using the server port and the TCP listener connection. Yeah, and then otherwise, if it is not, then it will close the socket, and then it will set the listening state to false, so then it can restart if it needs to. This will just set up some time situations. So during the game server, it will consistently check if it's not getting any data that there's things, and it needs a timeout for that. So these will set up the timeout. Excuse me. So this section is the loop, and the first thing that it does is it handles packets, and it handles incoming packets, and it handles incoming connections. So I'll just go through this method now. So the first thing that this does, it checks. It does the following for it checks all the peer. First, it checks if the peer is ready, and then it will make a packet, and then it will interpret the packet and record. So then it will get the packet and decide what to do with it. So it will handle incoming packet. So we'll see what this does now. The handle incoming packet will take in a packet, a remote peer, receiving peer, and a detected timeout. Okay, so it will set up a packet type, and it will take the packet type from the packet, so then it can easily say what type of packet it is, and then based on that it will do different things. So for example, if the packet type is quit, then it will say, yep, okay, we need to quit this game server. I think receiver here timeout is equal to true, detection timeout thing. Okay, I'm not fully sure what that is for, but we'll go on anyway. Yeah, okay, player event. So the packet type is a player event, so then it will call an int32 and call it aircraft identifier and an int32 action. So this will, using these, will be able to identify which aircraft is being talked about in this sense, and then the action that needs to be applied to it. So in the packet, you're going to use the int32 to get the aircraft identifier and the action. This is deconstructing the packet and called one of the actions for the aircraft. And then what you're going to do is notify player event aircraft action. So what this method does, I'm not too sure, but I'm pretty sure it will add this action to the list of actions that need to be called in the player event, I think. Okay, so we'll go out of that. Let's see, is there anything else? I don't think so. I think it's just different events and stuff like that. Oh, game event. I think this is for all the other connections, maybe possible pickups. Yeah, so each of these are for possible things, and I think game event is for sort of generic, anything else fits into this, and then it will send out to all the packets. Okay, So as I said before, like I'll be honest that like I don't know what every single thing about this does, but I think at this point I do have a good general idea of what most of the functionality is, and that. So handle the incoming packet, and then it will contact the peer that's ready to receive, and then last it will check if the time is fit, and then it will clear the packet, and then if the time is set, then I think it will deactivate the time, reset the timer. Yeah. Okay, and then if detected time, it handle disconnections. So this is the handle disconnection method. Let's going to reopen that for so the handle disconnections will just basically handle what happens if someone disconnects from this thing, from the server. So it will first off, it will disconnect from the connected players. So we have two variables, which are the number of connected players and the max amount of players. So it will decrease the connected players by 1 because we're losing a player, and then it will say if the connected players, then it will if the connected players is less than the max counted players, then it will allow the listener to start open again. So one of the conditioner for the listener to close is that we have enough players on our server and we don't need any more, so we might as well just close the listener. I think this is what some of the issues that some of the people were having in class. Like if you go up to here, I think it might have been Cormac, that this was set to 10 when it should have been set to 15 or so. So that's interesting. Let me see, am I keeping on track? Yeah, so I'm going to go into the loop. Okay, so I think that's handle incoming packets, handle incoming connections. Let's see what that is. So let me see. Section 7. If there are too many players, TCP will stop listening. Yeah, so this is handling the connections, and this is as I said before. So if the MLIS or socket accept, it will get the amount of connected players, and if the player is too much for the thing, then it will just, for the listener, for the network, then it will just close the network and say, okay, I'm not taking any more players. And then, yeah, okay, that's what that does. Going back up here, then we have our loop, which will set the time, fixed update step, fix the tick step. So the tick can send updates up to 20 times per second, and this method will just send out. In this sense, it will update in this actual version of the method, it will update the client state, and then for each pair. I think what this will do is it will update the client state and then send out what the client state is to all the players on the network. Yeah, it handles output to all. So it handles output to all the players on the network. So if you want to send something out to the players multiple times a second, up to 20 times a second, and you sort of want to generalize it, then you would send it to the tick. That's what the tick is for. Okay, so we did initialization, loop, termination. I'm not actually sure where the termination of this thing is, unless it's while in the while. Yeah, it would be in here while waiting thread ends, while the waiting thread end. So then while the thread is focused or still on, then do this, I think. Okay, accept new players. Let's see where that is. Number 6. Yeah, that's back to the player. So it will that's where you want to accept new players depending on thing. Okay, cool. So we're almost finished the game server now. So I'll go down and show you the different protocols. Number 8. Okay, here we go. So update client state. Okay, so this is one of our protocols. Here we go. Yeah. So this is one of our protocols. The protocols are actually in here in the multiplayer game state, right down at the bottom. I think. Yep, update client state is there, and that's where it is here. So all of the protocols will set up the different types of packets that are going to be sent over, and it will depend based on which packet you sent over. It will depend on how the packet is deconstructed and what is done with it then afterwards. So it's the packets that the protocols that we have. Sorry, my computer just froze there for a second. There we go. Right. So our player state, initial state, accept, co-op partner. Yeah. Okay. And then give overview of the game server. I think that's pretty much everything covered. I don't want to go into too much detail because this is taking a lot longer than I thought it would. I don't want you to be listening to me forever. Yeah, sorry about this. I preference a lot of content over actual like shortening it down. I'm not sure whether that was the right thing to do or not, and if it wasn't, then I apologize. Okay, so then we'll go on anyway. Give overview of game server. Show code. Okay, right. So this is where I'll show my code now, just before I forget. So 1.12. So this is the main part of the functionality that I got working. So what I did was I needed to figure out how to. This was for the collisions of the building. So if you can see in the building, I'll just show this version, because this version on this, the reason I have two of them open. This version has two different. I have two different ones. This version is sort of has more of my code into it. When Patrick brought it, I did break, so that's why I have this one open. So this, while I was building, explain it. So what I needed to do was be able to tell what direction the person was playing, the character was playing from when they make a collision. So when a collision happens, and my thing is just about to crash. I might have to cut this and then do it again. No, it's fine. I'm just going to go to 12. Yep. So what will happen is it will ask get what the velocity is from the player, and it will have these booleans which are just set all to false each time the aircraft.move aircraft mover method is called. And then it will say if the x velocity is greater than 0, then the plane is moving right, and then it will set the function based on that. This I'll show you now when this loads, and then it will do the same for the velocity going left and up and down. That's how we got the tell. So this is an old version of it, but it has more of my code working in it. I can get this to open. So the this is old version, but it works fully. So this is what's happening. So when the X position is coming out, when the player is moving, it's calculating which direction it's going, and then it's basically decreasing that again. So when the collision happens, checks with the direction that the player is in, and then decreases whatever value that is. So if it's the y-axis here, so I think the y is decreasing, so it will increase the y when this trigger happens. Okay, that's that. What else is there? Oh yeah, here. So this is how I got the collidable to work. So what I did was I basically copied the I put it into pickupable, which I know it shouldn't be in pickupable. It should be in something else, but that's how I got it to work initially. And then, so what happens is when the collision happens, the player will this will be triggered into player action, and the difference is it was in the method. I don't have it open now, but in the method where it's collecting all the collidables, it will ask if the collidable is with a wall, then it will basically call the exact same function as a pickup, except the pickup won't be destroyed afterwards, and that's the only difference. And then it will call the update position, which is in entity, and then update position. No, update position is there in aircraft, I think. Yeah, update position will basically